Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Attendees are now filing into our Zoom session for today. My name is Melissa Faulkner. I'm the Executive Marketing Director here at UCSF Health Hub, and we are happy today to host our finalist companies in the remote diagnostics tool or device categories, clinical diagnostic, as well as mental and behavioral health. Our host today is Dr. Daniel Kraft. I will now turn it over to him to get us started.
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks to everyone for joining us. I'm Daniel Kraft, a physician, scientist, entrepreneur, and lucky to be a co-producer for the UCSF Health Hub Digital Health Awards 2022. Really amazing competition here. Some obviously incredible companies and finalists. I've been trying to track all of them for a while. Many of you have been looking at the space as well. We have a new platform we just launched in partnership with Health Hub called Digital.Health, and I put in the chat a link to all the finalists, so you can take a look at those as well as look at the quarterfinalists and search through 2,000 plus digital health companies and solutions. So excited to kick this off. We're going to spend, we have an hour and a half total. We're going to go through three categories. Each has the best in class and the rising stars. We'll start in the first 30-minute segment with remote diagnostics tool or device. Then in the 30 minutes in, we'll switch to clinical diagnostic tools. And the last 30 minutes, mental and behavioral health. I'm going to ask each company to spend about 30 seconds at the top, reintroducing themselves, a little bit of synthesis, what might be new since they submitted to the Health Hub Awards. And then we'll go into some questions, and we can take questions from the general audience as well in the chat. So use the chat feature. So we're going to start off with remote diagnostics tool or device. It is obviously, that's a really hot area, particularly catalyzed by the pandemic, hospital to home, lots of new ways to do remote monitoring and pull in data of all forms. So we have some incredible finalists. We have Glooko Inc., Huma, Biofourmis, and Seer Medical. And we're going to start with each of them 30 seconds and then switch over to the rising stars. Let's start with Glooko. If Glooko's here. If you're on mute, that might be a problem. Russ, you're on mute. Let's start again.
Somebody's got to be the first person to do that. I guess that would be me. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate that. Glooko is all about improving health outcomes for people with chronic conditions like diabetes. We do this through our personalized, intelligent, connected care platform. We've got a technology that makes lives better by really revolutionizing the connection between patients and providers. And we drive patient engagement and adherence, leveraging digital therapeutic solutions. And we leverage this as well to support clinical research and clinical trials. We're deployed globally in over 30 countries, over 20 languages, over 8,000 clinical locations. And we've been doing this since about 2010.
Fantastic. And just one quick question. You started with glucose, but you expanded your platform. What's the key element of diagnostics that you're doing beyond glucose?
Well, we've started to expand beyond just diabetes to some of the adjacent comorbid conditions. So we've started to provide some support for things like hypertension and obesity. Our vision over time is to build out to a more fully suited sort of cardiometabolic approach, because the comorbidities for patients with diabetes are so intensive that to manage a patient, you really do need to look across the multiple comorbidities.
Over to Huma, Harpreet Sood.
Thanks, Daniel. Good morning and good evening. I'm, as you can tell, calling from London, so great to be here. I'm VP of Primary Care and Partnerships at Huma, and delighted to be here on the call. So Huma is a health technology company focused on remote patient monitoring. We also do decentralized clinical trials and companion apps for pharmaceutical and life science companies. We're operating in multiple geographies, including the US, UK, South Africa, and increasingly some doing work in the Middle East. So Huma, we've created a singular modular real-time remote patient monitoring platform that can be used across multiple disease areas for research and or care. Our focus in particular at the moment has been around diabetes, heart failure, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and asthma. That's kind of our disease states, and we've played an increasingly important role in COVID, especially in Germany and the UK on the COVID vaccine program in terms of doing some research there. So delighted to be here and look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Harpreet. Over to Shiza from Biofourmis.
Hello, Shiza Hussains, representing Biofourmis. Biofourmis, we were started about 7 years ago with the vision of predicting disease before it happens. And what we do is we have an FDA-cleared analytics platform that is used for everything from decentralized clinical trials to virtual care. What's special about our platform is it's everything from its acuity agnostic, so acute to chronic care, specialty care, and it's diagnosis agnostic. So we started very wide and have started to specialize in specific areas. And what we do is we have a platform that is very personalized. So it is not pre-trained algorithms. It sets a personalized platform or personalized baseline for each of us. So mine is different, Daniel, from yours or from anyone else. And then we predict deterioration hopefully before it happens. And there's a number of services that we wrap around that, clinical, logistics, et cetera, to complement what a hospital, health system, or pharma partner might need. But at the end of the day, it's about predicting from at a very personalized level that clinical exacerbation before it happens. And a lot of the same use cases that you heard other people talk about, those clinical areas like diabetes, COPD, COVID, et cetera, are areas that we address, but through continuous and episodic monitoring. So we try to see that patient all of the time. And that's what helps us establish the baseline. So this year alone, we've done remote patient management for over 45,000 patients, and we're in over 30 health systems.
Great, thanks, Shiza. And last but not least, in best in class, Seer Medical, over to Dean Freestone.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Yep, I'm Dean Freestone. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Seer. At Seer, we've got a remote, we focus on remote monitoring for helping out folks with epilepsy. We're currently operating in the US, the UK, Germany, and based out of headquartered in Australia. We have two main products, and they satisfy or they help people at different stages through their journey with epilepsy. So we have a diagnostic product that's the world's best monitoring system for diagnosing and characterizing seizures. So it's video and ECG and EEG. We're vertically integrated. And so we manufacture our own devices and design our own devices and software and AI. We're AI first, cloud first, mobile first. And we're able to roll out this new technology through our own clinical services. So we control the end-to-end experience. We also have a product that's focused on more long-term monitoring and forecasting people's seizures or seizure risk. That's now used by thousands of people across the world, and it's really world-first technology, and it's going really well for us. So yeah, very happy to be part of the panel, and thanks very much.
Thanks, Dean. Good day, and it's great to see representation out of Australia. Some amazing digital health innovation there. Switching over to our rising star finalists, let's start with QT Medical.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, my name is Ray Kong-Chen. I'm a pediatric cardiologist, founder and CEO of QT Medical. I started a company designing EKG for pediatric use. I saw how difficult it is to do an EKG on a baby. In a way that we actually found a better way to do EKG for everyone. So now we have an EKG system that's cleared by FDA for professional use as well as for patient use at home. This is a 12-lead medical standard EKG, different from the Apple Watch or those multi-lead ECG that can only use for heart rate and arrhythmia diagnosis. 12-lead EKG give you a complete exam of the heart. Our EKG now is being used by airlines, schools, CRO, and clinics, urgent care centers, and hospitals. And we also serve over 4,000 patients for their 12-lead ECG test at home.
Great, thanks. Great to see physician founders as well. Over to Limber Health, Dr. Mark Bruner.
Hi, I'm also a physician founder. I'm a sports medicine physician, co-founder and chief medical officer of Limber Health. Limber is a remote therapeutic monitoring company partnering with physical therapists and physicians, and we are an FDA-registered app, which includes a robust musculoskeletal assessment, proprietary risk stratification, tailored at-home exercise therapy videos. You kind of think Peloton meets physical therapy, coaching with care navigators, and also clinical validated outcome tracking using PROMIS measures. We are clinically validated at Mayo Clinic, and we did work with the AMA Digital Health Payment Advisory on creating new remote therapeutic monitoring codes that are level 1 codes reimbursed January 1st by Medicare and several of commercial payers. And then we work with several of the largest national PT groups in the US and Australia. A quick recent update is we closed our Series A fund led by Blue Venture Fund which represents all of the 38 Blue Cross Blue Shield plans. And they're really excited about the hybrid model of care that we're working with some innovative value-based care models with payers on. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Mark. Time for a stretch break. Over to Sid from Stel Life.
Hey everyone, I'm Sid Candon, CEO of Stel. Stel patented technology to passively and securely connect wireless health devices to EHRs and care platforms, meaning that patients without Wi-Fi, smartphones, or tech comfort simply can take their vitals or wear their device, and we'll pick it up and transmit it passively right to your EHR or your preferred care platform. Today, there's dozens of systems using us, hundreds of devices on our ecosystem, and millions of vitals transmitted. It's an honor to be on stage with so many of the companies that currently use us. And I guess a quick update since we last spoke is we're gearing up for a big announcement at CES this year, but we're bringing our OS to other popular IoT gateways out in the market. So thanks for having us.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sid. Over to Sam Yang from Xandar Kardian.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam, the co-founder and CEO for Xandar Kardian. We use this technology. It's an ultra-wideband radar, and it's FDA 510K cleared, Class 2 medical device. We use human vibration patterns, so micro nano vibration patterns, to collect body motion and then breathing rates and resting heart rate. We collect on average about 6,000 times a day. So it's a lot more than spot checks in hospitals. And we use this data for early deterioration detection.
Fantastic. And that can be in a hospital room, home room, and beyond, right?
Oh, yes. We're clear for hospitals, nursing homes, and residential homes. And our target market currently is long-term care. However, we are moving into aging in place. So one of the main benefit of this is that it's user compliance free. So you don't have to remember to wear anything, to charge anything, to send the data. And it's also staff intervention free as well. It's worry free.
Thanks. Over to Spect with Mike Ritchie.
Good morning, good afternoon, as it may be. Pleasure to be here, and thank you for the honor. Spect has created a platform that allows you to do very easy, low-cost retinal screening, initial target for diabetic retinopathy. We've been doing this for a while now. We're getting very strong traction in the at-home market, which obviously spun up as a result of COVID and telehealth. The platform is quite unique in that not only is it very easy to use with our low-cost device, it has a human-in-the-loop element. We're actually guided on how to do the exams. We can do them very quickly, very inexpensively, and we're getting a lot of interest, particularly in the Medicaid, Medicare, FQHC market. So we're very excited to ramp the product up. Longer term, the retina is a biomarker for many other disease states as well. So we're looking at building a very deep database on retinal images, which can help with other things such as neurological and cardio. So very excited about the platform.
Great, thanks. Over to Clearstep, Bilal.
Hi, everybody. It's an honor to be here with all the other finalists. My name is Bilal Naved. I'm one of the co-founders of Clearstep and the Chief Product Officer. Clearstep is the market-leading digital self-triage solution for health systems. Our B2B SaaS platform powers digital self-triage for the likes of CVS, HCA, other systems in over 15 states, and the largest top health management company. In addition to digital self-triage, we're also able to calculate the most likely diagnostics that a patient will need as part of their care with high accuracy, opening the door to features like matching patients to the exact facility based on resources they'll need, teeing up orders in the EMR in advance, and predicting the cost of a patient's episode of care based on the diagnostics they need. We've accomplished all of this at an early seed stage and with just $5 million in funding. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks. Over to Andrew from Primary.Health.
Hi, good morning, afternoon. So Andrew from Primary.Health, CEO, co-founder. We were born in the pandemic. We helped UCSF digitize some of the early studies that uncovered the asymptomatic transmission rates of COVID. We've grown since those early projects to 170 employees. We basically replaced the paper clipboard in public health, and most of our clients are public health agencies across the country. And so now we're doing everything from STI work, viral air surveillance, OTC kits, since over 6,000 schools, point of care testing. Fundamentally, what we're doing is we're digitally enabling diagnostics, number of partnerships with diagnostic makers to figure out how do we take their point of care tests out into larger populations. It's part of the trend of decentralization of healthcare services and making things more accessible so that fundamentally our mission is to stop the spread of infectious disease. So get that R0 below 1. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. And last but not least, Strados Labs, over to Nick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Delmonico, and I'm the CEO and founder of Strados Labs. I'm also a patient founder. I've had asthma most of my life, and it was always a struggle for me to detect when I was wheezing, coughing, and having shortness of breath. So we created a 510K cleared wireless wearable stethoscope. It listens to lung sounds at the same fidelity as a Littmann stethoscope, but we can detect that over time. And that allows clinicians to be able to predict when their patients who have a chronic respiratory condition may be decompensating to ultimately avoid rehospitalizations. We work also with decentralized clinical trial partners who are trying to capture these symptoms to better enable their trials to be successful at determining the right endpoints for their new therapeutics and drugs. And so we're excited about our technology. It's been expanding both in the research space as well as remote patient monitoring. And we're excited to be part of this crew. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Thanks to all of you for sharing succinctly your amazing companies and what you're up to. Now we got about 15 minutes for an interactive roundtable discussion. And I'm going to start with sort of the rising stars, not the rising stars, with the more far downstream Glooko, Biofourmis, Huma, and Seer. You know, you guys have some really impressive remote patient monitoring and other related solutions. The challenge often is personalizing that for the end user, age, culture, language, etc. What lessons have you sort of learned in optimizing and tailoring your user interface so it's not one size fits all? And maybe I'll start with Biofourmis.
Sure, great question. So one of the things that we did, of course, we have a patient app that is designed to be easy to use, 6th grade reading level, different languages, and we provide it on a device that comes with cellular connectivity, again, for that equity, right, to make sure that it's accessible for everyone. But a couple of the learnings that we've had, Daniel, one is that as we look across our data set, if you have a well-designed app that is all those things that I just mentioned, you actually, the particular age groups are not any who are any more or less tech aware are not going to have any more trouble or more ease in using the app if you design it well. The other one, and this one's really interesting for us and something we're focusing on, is whoever the user of the app is, that patient, they are dealing with something far more important than working with our app, right? A medical diagnosis that they're working through. So what we're trying to do is design our app to really be almost invisible, right? Part of the fact that our data is streamed passively, they wear a device and it's continuous, is the patient shouldn't have to be interacting with our app to provide vitals or other necessary data. What they should be using the app for is communication with their care team or providing complementary insight via questionnaires that are care path specific, right, and have branching logic. It should be a value add and an addition, not the primary way that we get insight into the patient. And so those are some of the things that, in addition to building on ease of use and language and accessibility, we're now looking at the app differently, which is how do we make it something that's available to them and provides complementary insight to the care team, but not a necessity for them to interact with actively and interrupt their regular life, whatever else they're dealing with, for us to even be able to get the basic insight that we need. So, and the other thing is we want one app that travels with you as you move from one acuity to another, as you move through life, as you move through different diagnoses. And that's why being diagnosis and device agnostic is really important to us, because it's about the analytics and engaging that patient.
Thanks. Over across the pond, Harpreet, aside from doing things in a cool British accent, what else have you?
Thanks, Daniel. So look, I think, on your question, again, a great question. I think the key learning for us has been that, simply put, the patients and users all value and appreciate an enjoyable user interface. And I think from our perspective, a high quality user interface isn't not just nice to have, it's really essential for engagement and concordance. Our product and user interface, is based on 10 years worth of patient interactions across the board of a variety of conditions. It's about identifying the needs of different patient cohorts that we've learned. It's about the pain points of the clinical teams who are managing the patients, driving user centricity, but also iterative design process. We also have learned by doing considerable amount of user journey mapping for different patients who might be recovering, for example, in perioperative cancer, those living with certain long-term conditions such as diabetes, or those that have progressive illness such as Parkinson's. And in doing this research, we've really learned what is it that motivates patients. Some are more philanthropic than others. and some have a pessimistic view. And I think we just have to be really clear on that. And that's been a really important learning for us. And these personas and emotional states help us to be mindful about our language. We push certain tasks based on that. And we've also built our product that allows us to tailor the message by the care teams, knowing who their patient groups are. And as a result of that, we've had a very high adherence rate, around 85 to 95% across the board of our therapeutic areas. What we've also learned is that we want, and we should, and we do publish usability assessments of our deployments, and these demonstrate the uniquely examined engagement of our app, and also that it's based on a cohort of patients. And that applies through the product, but also for the to-do list that we have that we send our patients. And again, it's gone through the similar process. So that's what we've learned, and we've realized that actually this is about the norm, and we just have to go through this process to do that. So we're excited to be developing that at the moment.
I've always thought we sort of need a new term of like precision digital health and engagement. Almost for any company onboarding, you figure out someone's ENT, if they're introverts, extroverts, what their incentive models are, not so that way you almost onboard someone and tailor the color, the badges, the incentives, the user eye. Glooko, you're more diabetes focused in the past. What have you guys learned succinctly? 20-second answers here.
Yeah, I think the points made already were great points, and I think we would concur with those. As we look at how we've built in the kind of specific patient population perspective into our UI, we look at it from a disease state perspective, because there are differences between whether it's a type 1, type 2 gestational diabetes or related cardiometabolic conditions. We also look at it by use case, because we're leveraging the UI for decentralized clinical trials, but also as part of our digital therapeutic solutions, or for sharing data and managing communications with our care team through RPM and clinical care management, as well as just self-management support. And the third angle really is around health device compatibility, depending on, we're compatible with 95+% of the devices out there in the market, and allowing us to tailor for the type of device that somebody is looking at data and insights through our platform for is important. Of course, all of this needs to be modified, translated, not just translated, but localized for the specific populations in certain geographies, because there are unique differences in care delivery culture, in reimbursement, in regulatory requirements, privacy, security. So there's a lot of complex interactions there that happen where you need to really make sure you can meet the patient where they're at. And also on our clinical platform, the care teams, the UI for the care teams is important as well.
100%. Dean, any insights from Seer?
Yeah, look, I think in general in the epilepsy space, I see a lot of people just getting it wrong. And I see that this stuff is actually really simple. But where people get things wrong is they're really focused on what information they can harvest, I guess, or collect from patients. And there's a lot of work that goes into making that user experience really streamlined and easy. But I think that's just fundamentally the wrong way about it. If you really focus on how you can create a great user experience, but focus on what you can deliver rather than what sort of data you can collect. And just that sort of shift in mindset goes a long way. And so, look, a lot of these great companies come from an academic background, and they really are focused on seeing what data they can collect. And once you sort of flip that, the game changes, and you can deliver much better outcomes.
Great. And one more question for the best-in-class, real short answers if you have one. I mean, a lot of you now are understanding baseline, not just some average number, and how that can be melded. Of really understanding that in context of the patient seems to be key. Any kind of key learnings or insights on how you understand baseline and how that shifts to intervene early before decompensation? You want to jump on that?
Yeah, I could talk about that. Like, it's just in general, I think that different stages through a journey with any kind of illness requires a different thought process. When you're designing these types of tools, you really want to get people engaged, and at an early diagnosis, people are really scared about it, and you want to be able to help them through that process. And then eventually you want to get them to a point where you're coaching them towards control. And that's a really different experience that you want to create for people.
I guess I chime in as well. The diabetes world, there's a lot of standard care research designed for baselines of some of the clinical outcomes and metrics that physicians in particular are looking at and managing too. I think one of the things that we've tried to build into our solution is really the predictive analytics to be able to, one, identify at-risk cohorts in their population in advance of them finding those things, but also measuring we have an algorithm for dropout risk, knowing when somebody is likely to come off of therapy and engagement, because if you can get out ahead of that, obviously you can maintain the ability to engage and treat them.
And I would add, one of the things that we're doing is, that personalized or predictive care. We're really, of course, we have care paths that are specific to specific disease states and certain thresholds and things that we can set based on that. But it really is about this personalized baseline that we develop. And it's not, AI that's pre-trained on a set of data or a specific type of patient. It is trained based on measurements we take of you or of the individual patient, and not another group that approximates who you are. So that's another thing that we're factoring into those baselines. The other data that's out there is important, but we're each individual and all the comorbidities we have and everything else, we're really making this about each individual patient.
Yeah, and I think from our perspective, it's very similar. I mean, ultimately the advancements that we've seen in technology and where we are at the moment, a lot of this is about not being one size fits all, but it's about figuring out how do we utilize that real-time data and then feed that back and actually improve our algorithms. And we are continuously doing that so that depending on disease state, depending on your demographic, your age profile, it's being tailored towards what is it that means about you from that certain user profile. And that's where I think the real opportunity is, and how we actually really make this stick, which I think is the important thing rather than it being generic.
And everyone's very protective of their data. It's often quite siloed. It might be interesting for maybe Health Hub to connect all the dots between the insights so it can be cross-fertilization on the learnings. Let's switch over a bit with a focus to the rising stars. We got about 10 minutes, so really short answers. Kind of a blended question. A lot of the challenges with new innovations, particularly diagnostics, is that the user interface is not just support for the patient, but the workflow of the clinician, who may not want more data or more digital information from their patients in the remote setting. How have you addressed sort of the workflow issue? And then how might you look to overcome that? So let's go around the horn real quickly, maybe starting with Q2 Medical, and short answers. We've got about 30 seconds each. Or anyone, Limber Health, Stel, who wants to jump in on an answer about it?
I'll jump in. It's Mike Ritchie at Stel. So everyone's talked about it already. It has to be seamless clinical workflow. This has to work within the current environment on the clinician side. So we've developed a product that really does fit their current workflow. It's very easy to use, can be done by nurse practitioner, by medical assistant, very quick, very easy. And we give enough information to guide them, but we don't burden them with anything more in their day, because their day's already quite full.
Yeah, this is Mark from Limber Health. I think two things. One, you really have to make sure that you can integrate into the EHR to make it as seamless as possible. I think that's an obvious answer. But what is more important is, understanding in orthopedics, what is clinically relevant and meaningful to a provider to make actionable insight. For us, it was promise measures and how we do a lot to match patient-reported outcome measures and specifically promise measures to help think about clinical decisions using the data that they're seeing with our patient-facing app. And that's been a game changer, because now when you go into a visit with a provider, you can actually understand what that patient's care was during their visit, what was happening at home, and be able to do something different that is clinically meaningful. And I think that's something important with any solution that people are trying to incorporate into a clinician's workflow.
I'll just add to Mike and Mark everything they said, and just do it so well that a health system refuses to work with any other company unless they go through you. We have an experience that we've built trust and support and have visionaries that believe in that adoption, and we just make it really simple to add into the EHR ecosystem. So our solution is trusted for hospital at home, transition of care, remote patient monitoring across the board. And there's no reason to betray that trust, right, when you have a good workflow set.
Do you find clinicians want that data because they might feel liable for missing that funny heart rhythm or a change?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think what we heard from this other group is there's a lot of smart AI companies that are building out the insights and analytics pipeline. If we're able to add connections to the multiple disparate device and sensor companies into those AI flows, that's kind of the magical sauce there.
Yeah, I think, Daniel, it's really important that these are not alerts that just end up in patients' inbox messages. If they've ever worked with Epic, they need to be something that is not, I would just say, not too many things that people are doing. it has to be short, it has to be concise, and it has to be, there has to be a time flow for when you get different messages, and it has to be clinically relevant.
Well, for
Yeah,
us, if I may add, because we focus on the long-term care market, as you guys all know, COVID had a devastating impact on that market, especially when it comes to staffing. So we really primarily focus on how can we have a remote diagnostic tool for this market that doesn't impact on anything that they're currently doing. So no add-on of tasks. So, having it contact-free and continuous autonomous was a key thing. And then we wanted to make sure that it was integrated and providing that early indication of deterioration as soon as possible without adding any work to the staff or to the residents.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that from our perspective. Our technology is really focused on change. So as a doctor, you can actually listen to a patient's lung sounds and how that changed from one day to the next in 30 seconds. And that's what we enable to happen remotely. So you don't need 24 hours worth of data. So that's one of the core things that we focus on. And then on the other side, as you mentioned about the patient, we enable the patient to actually take recordings when they feel symptomatic as well. So the data that's going back to the clinician is data that not only they find clinically meaningful, because they can assess change very quickly as if they were listening with their own stethoscope, but then you also provide the patient with empowerment to be able to provide that data back to the doctor when they think it's necessary. So we use that combination of information to be able to make it, again, really succinct, clear, and focused on being able to make a decision.
Great.
As much as companies can make it such that value can be provided without requiring providers to take use of that information or adjust our workflow, the better off too. With Clearstep, because we're focused on digital self-triage and making sure the right patients are ending up at the right sites of care, most of the time the value is already provided just in terms of the types of patients that are walking in through the door. We make sure that all the information we're collecting about those patients in the triage process is made available, but is optionally there and part of the existing workflow should the providers want to reference it in the actual visit itself.
Great. We've got about 2 minutes left. So we've got an amazing community both watching now, later. Maybe in 10, 15 seconds, anyone wants to jump in. What things are you looking for? What help are you needing? What partners, what collaborators, not just funding, is on your wish list if you can wage a magic wand to get your technologies and solutions to more impact and more patients?
Hi, Andrew from Primary.Health. Slightly different take. I'd like help resetting our expectations of what is acceptable. So many of our businesses in digital health are contingent on building a larger patient base and service them for a longer period of time. And we don't have enough startups working on actually stopping the spread of things, reducing the patient base to begin with. Like the fact that we have to treat and chronically manage so many people is not healthy. We need to be focusing on the input side of that equation, the public health side of this, which is still complete white space. And with so many new diagnostic tools kind of being broken out of point of care settings, the tools are there to do it, and it's complete white space to go very aggressively in stopping the spread or growth of different diseases.
Yep, proactive preventative health. That's where the money hopefully should shift. Anyone else with a wish?
We are looking for partners to bring a 12 EKG solution to homes, whether it will be a remote patient monitoring, home care, or hospital at home partners. Now, 12 EKG to this day is only available in hospitals, in doctor's office, and now we enable 12 EKG medical standard to go to patients' homes. So we welcome any partners interested in using the 12 EKG in a home setting, whether it's telehealth, it's a remote patient monitoring, or if it's a hospital at home.
Yeah, this is Mark. I think the one thing that we really could use is provider systems that are really interested in doing clinical studies on working with payers on lowering total cost of care and showing how these solutions can actually lower total cost of care and have a clinical impact and affect costs in a thoughtful way.
I would echo what Mark said as well. And then I would also just add, we also have a device and API platform to play nicely with other remote diagnostic and agnostic companies. So if you're focused on trying to bring best-in-class pulmonary disease management, asthma, COPD, even infectious disease, we have a really unique solution that pulmonologists love right now. So we're looking to scale, and so we should definitely talk some of the bigger players in the room.
Yeah, I think there's lots of.
The answer for us is all right here, because I find it super amazing that we have a great group of companies and minds here, and we're all focused the same goal: proactive predictive care, right? And for us, what we want to really focus on is the data mining side. The data, we get so much data, and I see so many companies in the AI ML space. If we can all collaborate together, I think we can come up with a very powerful system as a whole.
I think those are good points too. I think there's two things maybe broadly that probably help all of us. One is the continued push around data interoperability across the board. I know that is working better in some places, but there's still some sticking points around true data interoperability across the board. The second piece is just continued focus on reimbursement models in markets that allow organizations to be able to fund the development and the use case for these things. There's a lot of great ideas out there that if you don't have a reimbursement model, it's hard to find the light of day.
Yeah, Daniel, perhaps one last point here. In a macro sense, we need healthcare to go back post-COVID to worrying about healthcare, because there's still been a delay in getting healthcare back to the patient with all the COVID stuff. We're starting to see that happening now, but we need to really worry about every aspect of healthcare.
Last word goes over to Harpreet.
Thank you, Daniel. I know it was just a very quick thing, which is to suggest that one of the things we've learned about, which it seems like is chiming across, is that evidence in this world is critical. And I think we're getting to a point where we need to have a scientific first approach, and evidence is all, I would say. So one thing we can all collaborate on is how do we think about designing those studies? How do we think about the frameworks? Because ultimately it's about the evidence and what this means for patients. And happy to discuss that with anyone willing to discuss. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think hopefully some of you, maybe you'll meet in Vegas, but also meeting here, and a lot of cross collaborations. I think that's particularly a lot of the rising star companies could be collaborating with the best in class, given your synergies and solutions. So congrats to all of you. Thanks for your great work. Sorry we couldn't go much longer. We're going to switch it over to our second batch, which is somewhat overlapping, clinical diagnostic tools. Some incredible innovations that are there on the market. I put in the chat a link to all the finalists by category, so you can link and learn about them on Digital.Health, or if you have a solution, add them to that platform. So we're going to switch over to first the folks in best in class in clinical diagnostics. We've got Butterfly Network, 4D Medical, TytoCare, and Somnoware. So 30 seconds each. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and maybe what might be new since you submitted. And we'll start with John from Butterfly.
Yeah, I'm John Martin. I'm the Chief Medical Officer of Butterfly Network. We invented the world's first single probe whole body ultrasound system by putting ultrasound imaging on a chip. Now, that versatility allows us to have something that's incredibly affordable, versatile, as well as usable. And now, for the first time ever, you're starting to see ultrasound use across all care venues, across all disease states. And basically what's driving us is, if you look at the way we practice medicine, 80% of the time when there's a diagnostic dilemma, it's simple imaging that answers that question. And 2/3 of the world has no access to medical imaging. And because Butterfly now has a $2,500 device that in your hands allows you to do a history, physical, and then image, and make better clinical, more efficient decisions that are cost effective and get better outcomes, the world of healthcare is now changing around the Butterfly.
Thanks, John. I've got one I practice on my kids. 4D Medical, Andreas. Muted.
Wow, there you go. So hi, I'm Andreas Foras. I'm the inventor and founder at 4D Medical. We've developed XV technology, which is a 4-dimensional medical imaging technology for the lungs. It is the richest, most sensitive capability that's possible in terms of understanding what's happening in the pulmonology of patients. And I think in some ways, what's even more exciting than that is we've developed the platform so that it layers precisely on top of X-ray fluoroscopy that's in every hospital across the United States and most hospitals across the world. So all of those hospitals right now have an XV scanner just as soon as they're ready to turn it on.
And just to understand, what's a discrete use case? Picking up pneumonia, COVID?
Oh, so long COVID, also another really exciting use case that we've just completed a clinical trial for is detecting constrictive bronchiolitis in post-deployment for veterans. There's 3.5 million Americans have been exposed to burn pits as part of their military service. And there's now really an urgent need to be able to detect a very silent disease that sits within their lungs.
Great, thanks. TytoCare, Ohad.
Hello, I'm Ohad Polak. I'm the VP Marketing of TytoCare. So TytoCare is the home smart clinic. Our point of care is the home. We provide a remote physical exam solution for the family. which allow to the family to perform all the remote examination for primary care. So we have a kit, sits at the home, and it allows the families to conduct a wide variety of examination like lungs auscultation, looking at the throat, otoscope for the ear, and additional wide range of exams. And we connect to clinicians in real time or in offline. The solution includes also a complete platform that is connected to the providers and to the health plans environment, and we are provider agnostic. So we provide different models with connecting to clinicians. It can be a doctor in the cloud, or it can be your own PCP. We all were deployed in more than 25 countries around the globe, serving more than 180 providers and payers around the globe. And we have near to 1 million families that we serve. And we are very proud in our solution, in the extraordinary utilization of TytoCare as opposed to traditional telehealth, to audio-video telehealth. And in the last year, we saw many researches about the impact of TytoCare and the reduction of total cost of care together with TytoCare.
Thanks. I was in Israel, I think 10 years ago, met your founder with a 3D printed prototype, and now you guys are in Best Buys. Congratulations. Over to Somnoware, Subath.
Hey, my name is Subath Kamalasan, CEO and co-founder of Somnoware. Somnoware is a SaaS platform in the area of respiratory. So we primarily deal with COPD and sleep apnea, any sleep disorders, any pulmonary diseases. Our customers are healthcare systems in the United States. Most of the large healthcare systems use Somnoware, including the VA and Kaiser Permanente. If you go to any Kaiser or any VA, Somnoware is being used at the respiratory department. What we do, we are of course only in the United States. We are an automated workflow / data platform. We integrate with every respiratory devices in the United States. We have API with every devices. We bring in the data into one relational database. From that data, the doctors can come in and generate their interpretation report. The respiratory therapist can do sleep studies or pulmonary function tests. They can engage with the patient. They can send questionnaires from Somnoware. It's a complete EMR for the respiratory department. Our champions are physicians and clinicians like respiratory therapists. We are integrated with every EMR in the United States, including the legacy CPRS for the Veteran Affairs.
Awesome.
So that's
Thanks.
Somnoware.
Yep, congrats. All right, now over to the newer folks on the block, rising stars in clinical diagnostic tools. Let's start with Mediktor and keep it to 30 seconds, please. Thanks. You're on mute.
Thank you. This is Vicente Ferrer from Mediktor. I am the Managing Director of Mediktor's New York City office. Mediktor is the most advanced AI-based care navigation solution. We basically empower patients to provide them with on-demand personalized healthcare guidance at the first onset of symptoms. And the way we do this is by partnering with health plans and health systems, right? So we enable those organizations to direct patients to the appropriate level of care in a safe, convenient, cost-effective way, anytime, anywhere. So just briefly, some news regarding we applied. Since we applied, it's basically we are increasing our footprint here in the States. We just brought in the state of Nebraska and sunny Puerto Rico. We are very excited with that. We are developing our solution. Now you can speak to Mediktor in Alexa. So we are truly becoming the only omni-channel symptom checker triage around. And finally, we keep developing our product when it comes to the machine learning and natural language processing, which is key to make sure that you provide the best experience to the users. Back to you.
Fantastic. Gracias. Okay, CardioWise, Jack, please.
Hi, I'm Jack Coates, CEO of CardioWise, and I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to be part of this panel. Both our CTO, Jeffrey Dalbeau, and I lost our fathers to cardiovascular disease. And together we decided to utilize the breadth of our knowledge and experience to make the most significant impact that we could by helping cardiologists and radiologists make better, more informed decisions about patient care by providing really new and unprecedented cardiac imaging insights. So CardioWise Squeeze provides fast, comprehensive artificial intelligence analysis of heart function, which is the ability of the heart to pump blood, and that's really the key to diagnosis.
Fantastic. Thank you. And next is Alexander from Promaxo, sorry.
Yeah, hi, I'm Alexander. I'm the Chief Technology Officer over at Promaxo. Promaxo is a medical device technology company that has developed a 510(k) cleared interoperative MR imaging platform that's designed to guide and target procedures such as biopsies and other treatment modalities for prostate cancer. The core technology that we have is an open-faced single-sided MRI system for prostate imaging and needle navigation that can be conducted in an office setting. It's compact, requires no facility upgrades or cryogenic cooling, so it can be installed in a variety of settings that we have actually installed it in, which are ambulatory surgical centers, ORs, or in-office based. As an update, we've sold 17 systems over the past 10 months, which is exactly as per our commercialization plan, so that's exciting. And we're actively installing these systems around the country and have performing procedures at these sites to improve patient outcomes.
Fantastic. And over to Kenya, Emilian from ILARA Health.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, I'm Emilian. I'm the CEO and co-founder of ILARA Health, and we're building a tech-enabled primary care model for Africa, starting with diagnostics by leveraging this existing hyper-fragmented care infrastructure, where we partner with high potential healthcare entrepreneurs who run those hundreds and thousands of primary care centers that deliver care to hundreds of millions of patients across the continent each year. And we equip them with a physical tool, so the likes of Butterfly Network, Butterfly IQ, portable ultrasound, and other tools, but also with digital tools. They need to provide better healthcare. We started in 2019. We partnered with over 1,500 independent clinics across Kenya, and they provide a direct pathway to over 5 million patients yearly. Thank you.
Thanks. Over to Kaushal from Eyenuk.
Hi, everyone. I'm founder and CEO at Eyenuk. And so far, we have talked about all different parts of the body and diseases. I'm going to talk about the eyes. Eyenuk is an autonomous AI company with a mission of screening every eye in the world. And our first product focuses on fully autonomous detection of diabetic retinopathy. And when I say autonomous, it works on its own. FDA has cleared our technology to detect diseases without needing any specialist. In fact, it can be operated by anyone with a high school diploma. And it's not just the access that we solve here to reach this 500 million diabetes patients worldwide, but also it's more accurate. So our clinical trial, a multi-center clinical trial with 900 patients, showed that our technology is more sensitive than even ophthalmologist dilated exams. And realizing what this technology can do for rural and disparity populations, Medicare is now reimbursing this through a new category 1 CPT code, paying higher than what they pay human graders. And like I said, diabetes, knows no boundaries, it's worldwide, and that's the approach we've taken. So technology is cleared not just in the US, but also in Canada, Europe, Saudi Arabia, Israel, India, and multiple markets in Asia and Latin America. So as we speak, it is in use in 18 countries globally with over 60,000 tests conducted and counting, of course, long way to go. In the US, our customers include major health systems like Temple Health, University of Illinois, and the like. And we are adding new disease indications through the same test, same platform, including vision-threatening diseases like glaucoma and age-related macular degeneration as soon as this year. and eventually looking at chronic diseases like Alzheimer's and cardiovascular risk.
Fantastic. Yep. Thanks, Kasia. We're going to move forward. I think what you're doing in many of the companies here, you're upskilling almost anybody to be a retinal scanner, an ophthalmologist, or a radiologist, et cetera. Over to Brigham from Atropos Health.
Thanks, Daniel. Brigham Hyde, co-founder, CEO at Digital.Health. And we're the provider of the Green Button Informatics Consult service, which provides real-world evidence to the point of care for the patient in front of that physician. We exist to solve something we call the evidence gap, which is something I think we all know, which is that most patients are excluded from most clinical trials, yet those clinical trials are used to inform care. So you have a situation where doctors have to extrapolate from imperfect evidence to the patient in front of them, let alone rare and underserved communities, including rare disease, elderly, and women that are often underrepresented. The service works really simply. Doctors can submit a question, a couple of sentences to us, and we'll provide an answer in less than 2 days. That's a full boat real-world evidence research report based on EMR data and other data types. And in doing this, we're able to help inform diagnostic, treatment, and care decisions all along the pathway. And super excited to discuss it today.
Thanks, Brigham. I know that project when it was Green Button at Stanford. I think it was always summarized by the idea of being sort of a bioinformatics consult. You could look at all the data from Stanford across all the patients and glean that information for the patient. Thanks.
Exactly.
Over to Jennifer from Raydiant Oximetry.
Hi, thank you everyone. Jennifer Cobb, I'm the Vice President of Market Development here at Raydiant Oximetry, where we're tackling one of the greatest challenges in obstetrics today, which is fetal monitoring during labor. So we're still using the same monitor that our grandmothers used 70 years ago to monitor a fetus in labor. And we all know from our diagnostic background that heart rate does not predict or diagnose hypoxia, which is what we're trying to do in the labor and delivery unit. So what we've done here at Raydiant is we have developed, we've patented, we have basically transformed the way that we're going to monitor babies in the future. So we have a transabdominal fetal pulse oximeter, and we are halfway through our clinical trial. We are one of 4 obstetrical devices that have breakthrough designation status with the FDA, and we're supported by the NSF and the NIH, as well as a team of venture capital funds. So we're excited to be here. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Great unmet need space. And last but not least, Micha from NeuraLight.
Hi, Danielle. It's great to see you again. We spoke about a year and a half ago and we just incorporated, so closing full circle here. I'm Micha, CEO and co-founder of NeuraLight. It's an honor to be here with all these amazing founders, showcasing these amazing companies. I'm a repeat entrepreneur that previously sold my AI company for $575 million, and now I hope to kind of leverage that to reduce suffering in the world. At NeuraLight, we're developing a platform that integrates multiple digital markers to accelerate and improve drug development, monitoring, and precision care for patients with neurological disorders, which include multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and ALS, where we actually have our first commercial deal in with great results that came in since we applied for this and will be publishing soon. The technology driving the platform includes both proprietary deep learning algorithms, which automatically extract a host of digital oculometric markers from facial videos that are captured with a standard smartphone or webcam, just like we're talking now over Zoom. My co-founders are repeat entrepreneurs, including myself and the founding CTO of Flatiron Health, who joined as a scientific co-founder. 35-person team supported by renowned neurologists, including 2 Nobel laureates, as well as a stellar scientific advisory board. And we've raised a little over $30 million to date. Very new to this space. Thank you.
I remember seeing that a year and a half ago. I wish I'd invested. As I recall, I was tracking your eyes with the camera and could pick up neurologic conditions and beyond. And okay, so we've gotten through everybody. Thanks for sharing your quick pitches and what you're up to. We've got only about 10 minutes or so to go through questions. I think globally, a lot of these are related to democratizing diagnostics and global health. We've got companies like ILARA integrating technology suites and companies like Butterfly already on the ground in lots of locations. Maybe I'll start with Butterfly, maybe some lessons in how these can apply to making health more equitable and diagnostics anywhere for anyone, and some lessons in that. So maybe, remember short 20-second answers on these and where you see this going next.
Yeah, I think the key is simplicity in the user interface so people can adapt it. I think the speed at which you can learn to actually use the device is critically important, and the cost. I mean, when you get into low resource areas, money that doesn't seem like a lot here is a lot there. And so you have to understand that. And then you have to have some methodology, which Emilian has done very well, in which you got to deploy it across broad areas where you can't just give it to them. You have to teach them to fish. And once they learn how to fish and can adopt the technology, that's how you transform care. And I think that's what we've learned working with key partners and with our device. So it's not just we invented a terrific ultrasound device, but the workflow that goes with it and the tools that make it rapid to adopt, easy to use, and then really transform care.
So Emilian, you're kind of trying to build the one medical for Africa to leverage these tools. Any quick synthesis?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So this is what John said is spot on. Is the asset needs to be extremely affordable, and if there was a consumable, the price per test needs to be extremely affordable. Otherwise, at that level of primary secondary care, those things would not be affordable. So, for example, in Kenya, a patient would pay $10 for an ultrasound, which is a fraction of whatever would pay the same patient would pay in a hospital. So those are the two things which are super important. So there's no way actually to do it unless one can lease or can provide those assets at a very affordable price to those primary care providers.
And Vincenz, with Mediktor, you can also do triage with these sorts of tools, but then how do you translate that to the follow-up when someone might be in a resource-constrained environment?
No, exactly. Actually, the problem we're trying to solve here is access to healthcare. And this is probably a higher problem or a larger problem in underdeveloped countries and, in Latin America, Africa, etc. So what we are doing is developing an experience, a user experience that can be basically understood and used by a wide range of people with different levels of literacy. This is very important. This is a typical solution you find in those developing countries. And on top of that, we are trying to make sure that you are able to access healthcare in your mother tongue, right? I'm a Spaniard. I've been living in the States for 11 years. I have a good command of English, but when it comes to my health, I want to do that in my mother tongue. So this also happens in other countries and other people, right? So we are available in 16 languages right now, and we get to the nuances of different dialects, right? So we have British and American, Spanish from Europe, and Spanish from Mexico, for instance. And this is the way we are trying to tackle this and bringing closer these sort of technologies to the most, for the underserved populations, basically.
I think, and at 40 Medical, we're taking an approach that I guess is totally compatible with all of these, right? Which is to take existing infrastructure that is already there across the world, somewhat seen as legacy infrastructure that provides minimal value, but really dramatically increasing the value proposition of that infrastructure to provide, the richest, most modern data possible.
I think just as a follow-up for all this, there's a real opportunity to connect the dots. I've done some interactions with UNICEF, WHO. They're not even aware of a lot of these technologies and tools, and they're very interested in bringing faster, better, cheaper, digital-enabled solutions to global health. Anyone else have an input on the global health angle?
The only other thing I would add is just simply that in some ways, the rest of the world is more ready for some of these digital innovations. And again, I think we see that in evidence generation. People are looking to a global evidence base to help make decisions and build that into their care models, virtual and otherwise, from the beginning. So I think it's exciting going on.
I think you make a great point because, over there, they're going from 0 to 1. We're so framed around where we are in the developed world and this high-end technology. They're going from nothing to something. And so we don't have to have that same level of sophistication. We need to answer simple questions. Is the baby upside down or right side up? And what is the gestational age? It can be as simple as that. That is a life-changing answer for those patients.
Yeah, we see also in TytoCare.
Second, what John and Brigham said, in global health, and we are currently operating in many of these low and middle income countries where there is no infrastructure, there are no ophthalmologists, and just having autonomous technology that can detect disease without any specialist goes a long way. And we also got to innovate in the workflow. So what's the point in detecting disease if we can't help those patients? So that's also something that needs to happen where if we have a patient who we find disease, we want to make sure they go to specialists for treatment and care.
And creating a platform that is user-friendly and inexpensive that people can use around the world. Device manufacturers need to make sure that they have good APIs so that platforms can integrate with and give a great user-friendly technology for the doctors and the clinicians around the world. We spend about $30 billion a year in the United States because devices are not interconnected. Software is not interconnected. It is so very important that we create good APIs and a fantastic, user-friendly, affordable platform for anybody around the world, all clinicians around the world.
Over to Ohad.
One issue in global
yeah,
health
so
is
that-
access to diagnostic imaging equipment. CardioWise can eliminate additional testing and additional imaging equipment purchases by utilizing CardioWise Squeeze, and that reduces the additional resources needed to get a proper diagnosis. And it can be either cloud-based, software as a service, or embedded in the software CT workstation.
One other thing, in the United States, we deal with the most pragmatic customers, which is the healthcare system. When we design platforms, we need to make sure it's very secure. For example, our cloud platform is 100% cloud. People have access anywhere, any country in the world, but it's secure. We have FedRAMP certification, we have SOC 2. So when we build platforms, we should make sure that the platform is, that data is transferred and stored securely. That is also very important.
Last word on this, over to TytoCare, Ohad.
Yes, so we see lots of creativity around the globe with how to utilize the remote physical exam solution of TytoCare. I think it's the beauty of it is that we invested in many years until we went, commercial with a very advanced engagement tool that are embedded in the device and in the application. And we're happy to see that no matter where we are and in which region we are, we have many use cases where very fastly different organizations create different use cases with the same technology because the high engagement tools and it's already embedded with the solution.
Right. Thanks. We got about 5 minutes left. I want to change the question a bit. Maybe start with Mika at NeuraLight. A lot of you have amazing technologies. The challenge often is showing the evidence that these things work, particularly if it's a different modality, including maybe to NeuraLight and then Raydiant. How are you showing that these things work? How do you develop the evidence? And what challenges do you see?
It's a great question, especially starting early on when it's so hard to get into the market. So what we first did is we measured over 1,200 healthy volunteers with our own clinics, with all the IRBs needed in our own offices. And then we were lucky enough to get very early deals with pharma companies that let us join their trials and basically piggyback on them and get the ocular markers alongside with, for example, for ALS with ALS-FRS scale, and show that we are more replicable, more sensitive, and higher precision. So that was really cool. Again, we haven't yet published the results, but we will be doing so soon. At the same time, we're doing the same with Parkinson's and MS in different clinical centers. So the idea is to do a benchmark on healthy volunteers and at the same time piggyback on clinical trials with pharma companies. So that's in a nutshell.
Thanks, Mika. Jennifer.
Yeah, great question, especially in OB. How do you do those clinical studies? So we started off with our animal models. We've done sheep studies as well as piglet studies to demonstrate that our technology does work. And we've compared that to a ground truth that was available about 20 to 30 years ago on the market. We had to go in and reverse engineer it and then test it and validate that. And currently our pilot trial that we're doing right now has both devices in place. We're doing that at UTMB and pregnant, obviously laboring patients.
Fantastic. Alexander, you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we started a lot with, doing in vitro and ex vivo studies, but really the proof came in when we were actually doing the clinical workflow and verifying that we were in fact finding more cancers than the standard of care, or we were upgrading more cancers than standard of care. And it's showing that the entire workflow can actually utilize our system and provide a better patient outcome.
Yep. Proof is in the pudding. The challenge often is death by pilot. I'm sure many of you have struggled with that. We've got 15 seconds left on to go, or 1 minute left. Real quick, Vincente, Brigham, and Kaushal for last word.
Sure, absolutely. So clinical evidence is very rooted in our company. basically because one of the co-founders is a doctor, Dr. Garcia Esquirol. So we take this seriously. And the only way to provide clinical evidence on the right path is through clinical studies, right? So we are not reinventing the wheel. What we are doing different from other companies in the space is how we structure those clinical studies. So it's basically 3 pillars for us. First of all, we are testing with real patients in hospital settings. Secondly, there is always an independent third party who is basically designing the protocol, gathering data, and consolidating the results, comparing Mediktor with the gold standard, which is the doctors. And third one, the outcome or the data gathered is relevant enough to pick the attention from peer-reviewed magazines. So we publish our clinical studies, right?
So you said evidence, so I have to chime in. First of all, you all should be working with us. Our goal is really to speed evidence generation, whether that's at the point of care or with researchers, even digital health companies. It's a great opportunity. And I would just encourage all of you to think about real world evidence and generating it early and often, both to define the problem you're solving and show that there is one, and then also begin to show that evidence. So super passionate about supporting this community in that.
Yeah, particularly companies like yours that integrate the evidence and present it to the clinician. We have lots of data. We need to go from data to insights to action really at the bedside or now the website. And I think that's a lot of you are enabling the collection of data, the insights and clinical outcomes that are going to really move the needle in the developed and emerging global space. So thanks to all of you. Congratulations on your finalist status, all our winners. Hopefully you'll see you at HLTH on November 14th. And that you can also interconnect and cross-support each other in improving healthcare for all. So thanks for your section. We're going to switch over to, last but not least, a bit of a different segment, which is mental and behavioral health. Clearly a large unmet need has grown, certainly the setting of the pandemic in mental health and the challenges that have evolved, and a lot of new tools and technologies that are addressing that, from digital mental health to integrating psychedelics and sensors and beyond. So we've got, again, folks in best in class, which include Bicycle Health, Papa, and Bamboo Health. And then we're going to hear from our rising stars. We'll start first with best in class, and we want about 30 seconds each, a little bit about what you do, what's unique, maybe what's new since you've submitted, and we'll go round robin, starting with Bicycle.
Hey there, Daniel. I can't restart my video, but either way, Justin Godagno, Chief Commercial Officer with Bicycle Health. We are a virtual provider organization focused solely on treating opioid use disorder through MAT, or medication-assisted therapy or treatment. And then we also provide the accompanying wraparound services, including behavioral health, peer support, care coordination, and so on. So our approach is pretty comprehensive. It's more than just technology or medication or patient care. It's really about helping folks break down the barriers to treatment, which is just the stigma itself of treatment, and really pushing them forward back to a more fulfilling life and really getting them out of that cycle of addiction. So our tech helps us do that. So the 20,000 patients we're engaged with now through our app, we help them walk through customized buprenorphine induction tools in their first appointment, to finding pharmacies that can help fill their medication, and then ongoing med management and support as well. So the ease of engagement is really what is what's key to our success. And I think our outcomes really show that.
Fantastic, Justin. Now on camera, one quick question. How do you compare your sort of virtual approach to the standard rehab center element in terms of outcomes?
Yeah, so our outcomes are through the roof. I mean, if you look at just retention alone, we're at 86% at month 1 and 70% at 1 year. Most inpatient or outpatient centers like that don't even track 1 year retention rates, just because they're basically non-existent. So they're stellar. And from a utilization perspective, from inpatient and ED, I mean, our previously high utilizers, we see ED reductions, 5 to 6 presentations a year reduced just through staying in the program.
Fantastic. Over to Kelsey from Papa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey McNamara. I'm the Director of Research at Papa. So Papa is a new kind of care built on human connection, and Papa was created to address loneliness, social isolation, and really other social drivers of health. We actually match members and families with a Papa Pal. So these are real people. They're empathetic. people who provide companionship and assistance with everyday tasks. So we have a national scalable network of these pals who are supporting our members in their home, in their community. They're able to reduce loneliness and address other unmet needs as really a means to improve their overall health. And I guess what's new since we submitted, since you're getting the research person today, we completed a few claims-based studies showing reductions in readmissions, reductions in ED visits, as well as cost savings for our PAPA participants. So thanks for having us.
Great, thank you. Over to Nishi from Bamboo Health.
Hi, Dan. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us today. My name is Nishi. I serve as Chief Clinical Officer for Bamboo Health. I'm also the founder of OpenBeds, which was acquired by Bamboo a couple of years ago. At Bamboo Health, we provide point-of-care solutions to manage mental health and substance use disorder conditions. We're the prescription drug monitoring program for 45 states. So we touch nearly every doctor, every pharmacist in the US. That's our network. And we process 1 billion transactions per month with that system. We also provide the OpenBeds capacity management and referral system to 15 states to establish these statewide behavioral health networks, provide situational awareness regarding the availability of behavioral health services, decision support, and digital connections to mental health and substance use disorder care. This system is now the gold standard of care for crisis management. I'm kind of proud of that. I used to knock on doors trying to convince people to work together and get on the same system to improve care delivery. But yeah, now it's the gold standard, and it's part of the federal government's 988 initiative, akin to 911 for behavioral health crises. We've actually built a specific crisis management solution that leverages OpenBeds and threads together the crisis stakeholders and the crisis response for which we've been nominated. And within a year of its release, last January, we're now working with 6 states and already having an impact in getting people to definitive assessment and treatment.
But I love the name OpenBeds, but often there are not enough acute beds for urgent. How do you address that part of the solution aside from finding them?
Yeah, so, it's not about open beds, actually. The system is much broader than that. It's about outpatient services as well. So we provide the full spectrum of inpatient, outpatient services for mental health and substance use disorder care. And the key really is about pooling capacity across a statewide network. The other thing is that via our data, we're able to demonstrate to a state, for example, that you actually do have a lot more capacity, for example, for residential treatment or outpatient care for a certain type of payer, Medicaid, than you think you have. We leverage our data to get at the truth regarding capacity.
Fantastic work, all of you. Over to our rising stars in mental and behavioral health, starting with Seth from Tiatros.
Yes, hi, thank you. I am actually Seth Norman, Tiatros' Chief Product Officer. Our Chief Medical Officer is Dr. Kim Norman, who had to respond to a patient emergency. I'm filling in for him. We promised you a Norman, but we didn't say which one. So thank you for having us. And I'll share that Tiatros is a platform that was really built to foster greater therapeutic alliance between the clinician and the patient. And so what do I mean by therapeutic alliance? Why is that so important? Well, when you look at all of the factors that predict a greater impact and better patient outcomes for psychotherapy, the most important factor by a large margin, it's not the type of therapy like CBT versus DBT. It's not the setting of delivery like in-person versus online. It's not even how long the patient is in therapy. It's really the quality of the doctor-patient relationship that counts. And so the problem is fostering a strong therapeutic alliance takes a lot of time, which doctors don't have. And so what we do is make it easy for doctors to do the things only they can. They make the diagnosis, they set the parameters for the goals for the patient, and then our AI system does the work of figuring out how the patient likes to learn. Should they be getting shorter versus longer education videos? Do they like to work first thing Monday morning or late on Saturday night? What should their storytellers look like when they're listening to the videos? And so what that does is let the doctor focus on the important parts of managing the overall process and the direction of treatment. And we do all that hard work of helping the doctor have a great relationship with the patient and making sure they're learning how they want to learn and get through the process, how they want to be treated.
Fantastic. Thanks. Over to Nathan from Grit Digital Health.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Nathan Demers. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm the Vice President of Clinical Programs and Strategic Partnerships. And our incredible team makes digital behavioral health tools that help provide psychoeducation, early intervention, and appropriate referral to care. And in this instance, what we were nominated for is an app called Nod that actually does provide treatment. So loneliness was declared an epidemic by the previous Surgeon General. We developed an evidence-based tool that can buffer the most vulnerable students, or young adults, if you will, from both loneliness and depression. The reason this is so important is we're currently experiencing a mental health provider shortage. And if we don't get ahead of this, we're unfortunately not going to be able to meet demand. So addressing loneliness really helps, because loneliness places individuals at greater risk for anxiety, depression, suicidality, substance use, and suicidal ideation. Thanks.
Thanks. And I noticed that you guys have several sort of apps, even like a men's health one. What was that one? What's that one's called?
We do. That one's called mantherapy.org. It's a men's stigma reduction campaign. It's funny. It's in your face. That's actually what gave rise to Grid Digital Health. So if you haven't checked it out, do so. It's free. It's confidential. No strings attached.
I love mantherapy.org. You guys do great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
If you want to find Man Therapy and all the other solutions, I put the link back in again of all the finalists, and the company information and their solutions are all there, so you can dig into them. Now over to a fellow Aspen Health Innovator Fellow, Dale Cook at Learn to Live.
Thanks, Daniel, for hosting all of us today. Hi, everyone. I'm Dale Cook, co-founder and CEO of Learn to Live. We bring together already proven clinically digital strategies, self-directed cognitive behavioral therapy, digital programs, coupled with 24/7 live clinician coaching at scale, all delivered directly to individuals, but through partnerships with health plans, providers, employers, schools. And our programs are really designed to help people live better lives by improving their mental health. We offer programs for social anxiety, depression, stress, anxiety, worry, panic, insomnia, resilience, substance use. We offer our services now to over 32 million people in the United States. And our model is really designed to address the three big barriers that I think have already been mentioned, which is stigma, cost, and access. And then in turn, we can dramatically extend the reach of behavioral healthcare services for our clients and improve their outcomes and also reduce their costs. Thanks.
Thanks, Dale. Over to Raj from Wise Therapeutics.
Yeah, hey, this is Raj Amin. I'm a co-founder and CEO at Wise Therapeutics. I've co-founded this company with a dear friend, Dr. Tracy Dennis-Tewari, who's a leading scientist in the area of anxiety and emotion regulation. Our focus at Wise is in closing the engagement gap in mental health with therapeutic gaming. One of the biggest challenges we hear is getting people engaged early with treatment. We know that 50% of the people out there who need treatment never get it, which causes escalated issues and certainly higher costs. In another area, mobile games have exploded as a natural modality for engagement. It's the most downloaded type of application on app stores, and 80% of those users are adults. So we really took a treatment modality called attention bias modification that Tracy has been an expert in, where she's run 7 NIH-funded placebo-controlled trials on, and we turned that into a game-based therapeutic called Personal Zen. We've deployed that both as a direct-to-consumer product, really in a test mode, and now we've started to really deploy that and scale with clinical partners. But our focus now is to really push that into a PDT platform with the launch of our pipeline of prescription therapeutics. First, targeting social anxiety disorder. We are currently moving through the FDA clearance process with that. And the reason why we're doing that is because we think that it's really critical that these products be integrated with how care is delivered today through providers. So that is our focus, and super excited to be here with this amazing group of innovators.
Thanks, Raj. Great work. Over to Ed from Mantra Health.
Hi, everybody. Ed Gosselin, co-founder and CEO of Mantra Health. So Mantra Health is the leading digital mental health clinic for young adults. Some of you may or may not know, but we're living through a sort of parallel pandemic when it comes to young adult mental health. 60% of college students this fall have reported having a diagnosable mental health condition. 25% of young adults during the pandemic reported having suicidal ideation. And so we've really built the most comprehensive program to help colleges and universities expand access to quality mental health care with Mantra. We started with teletherapy and telepsychiatry through a provider group that specializes in treating young adults. We will be launching early next year. And this is one of the big things that has been in progress since we submitted our application, are clinical skills-based content programs. I would say other updates are that, at this point, we're nearing about 110 campuses and 800,000 students across this country who have access to our program. As of recently, have been rolling out with the University of Wisconsin system, which is a really, really large contract for the company. So really excited to be here.
Go Badgers. And as your company covered the payer essentially as the university?
Here's the university. We also work with health plans, actually. So great question. Students actually have the ability to continue care with their provider once they graduate. And this is actually one of the times where students tend to be most at need and tend to drop off from care. And so we have the ability to work with payers to be able to take their insurance. And we have some national contracts with some of the leading payers in the country.
Great. Over to Alan Billings from Scalable Therapeutics.
Hi, thank you, Daniel. My name is Alan Billings. I'm CEO of Scalable Therapeutics, which is a new company incubated at UCSF under the vision of Dr. Kim Norman. And working with UCSF, we put together a team that combines world-class researchers from the Langley Porter Institute, along with top conversational AI experts who've come together under a common vision to make scalable and effective mental health care available to everybody. Our flagship product is called GridX, and it is an emotionally intelligent chatbot that understands emotions and human mental health challenges and delivers evidence-based psychoeducational content and interactive tools that were developed by researchers at UCSF. GridX is designed for both individual self-care and as an extension to services delivered by mental health professionals, helping them to more efficiently deliver high-quality mental health care to more people. GridX is commercially available today and has been launched and is in use with partners in over 20 school districts, colleges, and universities. And we're excited and honored to be part of this group. This is such an amazing and talented group of panelists. Thank you.
And you all have a lot of grit to get your companies to where they are. And maybe you guys can collaborate with Digital.Health on the term.
Right.
And last but not least, in our Rising Stars, Lucid Lane, over to Adnan.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Daniel. My name is Adnan Assar. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Lucid Lane. Lucid Lane is the only company with a mission to really prevent dependence on prescribed medications such as opioids, benzodiazepine, amphetamines that are prescribed by doctors, all for good reasons after an illness to improve pain and mental health. So there's about 50 million people that are facing and taking these prescribed medication just within the opioid dependence that is costing health plans and providers over $700 billion. We essentially work further up in the funnel. We partner with pain clinics, we partner with surgery centers to really provide a very comprehensive solution right out of the box that helps the patient population to improve their pain and mental health. And we also provide personalized medication tapering recommendation to the prescribing doctors that we work with, along with continuous opioid risk stratification and assessment. So it's a very comprehensive tool that addresses both the patient side of the equation as well as the doctor side of the equation, creating an ecosystem where we provide a very comprehensive solution out of the box. It's already a clinically validated solution. We concluded a study at University of Texas Health Sciences where we show that where we work with the spine surgery patient and show that our results are significantly better than the baseline, both in terms of opioid dependence reduction as well as readmission into hospitals. We work with about 100 health plans as well as 25 plus pain clinics and surgery centers throughout the US. We also work with self-insured employers, counties, and states. today, and we're, something I just wanted to mention, we're gearing up to make an announcement about a big partnership enhancements with the top tier US health plan as we in the coming weeks.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anand. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes for a bit of a round robin free for all. Let's keep the answers super short and use the hand raising feature. I'm going to kind of combine a couple of questions. One is the challenge often in mental health is, you get what you measure. There's not the same blood-based biomarkers as you have in cardiovascular disease and diabetes. So one question is what kind of new digital biomarkers are you seeing? How are you leveraging them, whether it's voice or wearables? And then sort of a follow-on to that, and you can answer either of these or in some combination. How do you address the personalization? It's not just depression, there's many different subtypes. And how do you often engage the often difficult to engage folks with mental health issues, given that they're not one size fits all? So we'll start with Anand, short answer, and keep going.
Yeah, so we look at a lot of biomarkers across medication use and pattern. We look at prior diagnosis. We look at activities such as sleep patterns coming from wearables and insomnia. We also look at therapy notes that our therapists generate, and also self-reported data on pain, mood, anxiety, depression, and all of this is essentially flowing into our data engine, where we're personalizing the tapering recommendation: how much to taper, when to taper, pause taper, how much MME to reduce, and so forth. So these are all how we're personalizing the tapering recommendation, which is going back to the prescribing doctor. And then we're also personalizing the therapy session. So we provide recommendation back to our therapists in terms of things that they need to address.
Awesome. Thanks. Over to Nishi, then Raj, then Alan. Nishi.
Thanks, Dan. At Bamboo Health, we're able to measure the impact of our crisis management system with our own data, because we're able to track the patient's crisis care journey from start to finish. What's really interesting to me, and I think it was unanticipated, is that the world is not ready for these data, meaning that transparency isn't always the most useful. It doesn't always have the best timing, but it's absolutely necessary, given that we are singularly focused on whether people are getting access to definitive mental health and substance use disorder care, and whether we're keeping them out of the medical and criminal justice realms. So I'll give you an example. In New Hampshire, we've been there since January. We've dispatched or supported the dispatch of mobile crisis teams to more than 5,500 adults in use, and that's 20% of callers. On average, it's about 8 to 10% of callers that get a mobile crisis team dispatch. So we're able to facilitate those dispatches very quickly, which is why more people are getting on-premise assessment, which is really neat. We've also facilitated more than 600 referrals to ongoing mental health outpatient services, as well as substance use disorder services within 72 hours, which is incredible as well. So again, these are data that our state and provider partners don't otherwise have access to for care delivery improvement. Crisis care at present is this black hole of data, but not anymore with our system. And it's going to take time for people to get used to this level of transparency, and to really, understand that, we can do better. We can do a lot better, because people are not just slipping through the cracks. I would say they're being pushed through the cracks right now, because the system is pretty screwed up.
Lots of room for improvement. Over to Raj, then Nathan. Raj.
Yeah, so we've been using a lot of biometric measures over the years. My partner Tracy did trials using HRV. We've actually measured cortisol levels in the bloodstream, even for pregnant women, eye tracking, EEGs, et cetera. But in reality, mostly what we're seeing in terms of wide industry acceptance is PROs like GAD-7 and PHQ-9. Certainly for FDA approval, those are the endpoints that they want to see. We're certainly very excited to integrate some of those new technologies in for diagnostics, including things like game time reaction when they're playing our game. These are all data points that we collect. But today, I think PROs like GAD-7, in fact, in the app is integrated GAD-2s, and we display those to providers as well, is what we're using for outcome tracking. On the personalization side, really, there's a few different things we're doing. One, in the prescription products, we've built a fully dynamic engine, so it actually reacts to the way that each patient plays the game to increase difficulty as they're getting better. So that's kind of one aspect that's quite important. And the other is looking at specific demographics and understanding that, hey, within gameplay, you can really change the environment to give someone the option to play it the way that they want. And so that makes it a much more personalized experience for each user.
Not just gamifying health. Everyone's playing video games anyway. They might as well optimize their mental health doing that.
Exactly.
Great. Over to Alan.
Yeah, thank you. And building on what Raj said, we also use, some of the traditional GAD7, PHQ-9, et cetera. What's exciting from my point of view is we can integrate that with our chatbot and do them in an interactive way. So it's part of a dialogue instead of, kind of a strict questionnaire type of format. The other thing that is, I think, super interesting is that we have a lot of interactions with the user in the form of journaling exercises, chats with the chatbot, and using AI and natural language processing, we can capture a lot of unstructured data and look at things like tone and language use and see how that changes over time in order to analyze kind of the progression that the patient is going through and improvements. So that's kind of on the digital biomarker side. On personalization, it's the way that we're approaching it is our chatbot actually kind of gets to know you, if you will, and it learns your emotions, it learns your challenges, and it remembers these. It remembers dialogues you've had, tools that you've used, and over time, the more you use it, the more personalized those interactions become. And that's an area of personalization that I'm excited about.
Thanks, Alan. Short answers over to Nathan, then Dale, then Kim, and then Justin.
Thanks. So personalization is really core to all that we do. So going back to mantherapy.org, what we realized is men account for the largest percentage of suicide in the US, and the average onset of mental health symptoms to getting care is 8 to 10 years. So when we made mantherapy.org and had taglines like "you can't fix your mental health with duct tape," that all of a sudden got hundreds of thousands of men coming to our site. And we've been able to prove that they're 40% more likely to connect with care. From there, we've been able to scale that to college settings. We're actually rolling out in partnership with Mantra across the Wisconsin system. We've also made a veterans version of the platform as well as for emergency responders. So stigma is real and we have to personalize to overcome that barrier.
Thanks. Dale.
Well, I won't speak to sort of the markers and the gold standard assessments that we use that I think people also have already mentioned, because we use those as well, which are, I think, very effective. But on the personalization side, I think number one, the way we think about engagement strategies, we focus on the 3 out of 4 people who won't use traditional services that we normally think about on the lower acuity side. And so we customize our engagement strategies to Medicaid or Medicare or to college students. That's really critical for us. I think second, when they're in our programs, they need programming that's not just rooted in clinically validated material, but we provide what we call a guided journey that has choice architecture. And so our users can take ownership of how they do that, but we make sure they stay in the clinical protocol. And then lastly, I would say, our clinician coaches, I think one of you talked about the importance of the Therapeutic Alliance. And so for those members who need that, it provides not only the strength of the alliance, but some added customization for them that can really cause greater adherence and better outcomes.
Great. Last 3 comments, Kim, Justin, then Ed, and we'll try and wrap.
Yes. So the only nuance I really wanted to add from the Tiatros point of view is, rather than, of course, focusing on one type of treatment or serving one type of population, we want to help therapists do the type of therapy they do better. And so that means learning about the patient. We want to collect the broadest data set possible. So whether that's your Nike Fuel Band or your GAD7 or just a natural language assessment of your writing, we want to collect all of it. But the really key nuance is making sure that you're tailoring the reporting of that data to both help the patient, make them understand themselves and their own therapeutic journey, but also help the doctor feel like this is giving them the insights that will make their practice better. Doctors, it turns out, are human beings too. That data has to quickly serve them and get them excited about continuing to use the product and continuing to improve the delivery of psychotherapy. And so, yes, cast the widest net possible, but make it actionable and useful to both the doctor and the patient. And that's how you have a successful therapeutic relationship.
Ed, I think you're next.
Yeah, so I think on our side, just like many other participants here who mentioned the evidence-based clinical scales, we do those as well. But We also measure sort of like life and academic outcomes, including the flourishing scales in the context of college students. And so one of the data points, for example, that we collect over time is, have we helped you sort of stayed enrolled at school? And this is an outcome that really, really matters for obviously a lot of downstream implications. And 70% of the patients that we work with have said that Mantra really has helped them stay enrolled. The other thing that I'll add is, we've actually built our own EHR from the ground up at Mantra. So it took us about 2 years to get it to where it is, but that really allows us to collaborate with on-the-ground clinics so that when a student is referred to us, we capture a lot of data about the history of the student with on-the-ground referrers that we collaborate with over time to be able to better treat students with specific presenting conditions, as well as specific populations like BIPOC students, LGBT students, as well as student athletes. And so a lot of what we're building from now on to the future has a lot to do with how we leverage that technology and our capabilities to tailor the care to these populations.
Great. We're just at time. I'm going to let Kelsey and Justin 30 seconds each, and then we'll wrap. So Kelsey, real quick, then to Justin, and we'll close.
Thanks. So similar to Ed, we kind of had to take a different approach in terms of the metrics that we use. So we use validated PRO metrics that are really more applicable across different types of populations, different health conditions that are able to detect changes both in physical health and mental health, and in terms of subclinical symptoms as well. So we really couldn't rely on those traditional clinical tools because they don't work well for individuals who have subclinical symptoms. So we had to broaden our approach. So we use things like the CDC's health-related quality of life measure, the UCLA 3-item loneliness scale. But my team at PAPA, we've been very vocal on the need for industry collaboration and alignment on more consistent metrics. So, timer over here. So we're really trying to use metrics that play well in the whole ecosystem so we can compare to other interventions, compare to other data sources. We think that's really important. Without having alignment between all of us, we really risk having limited impact.
Justin, Bicycle Health, you've got the last word.
Awesome, thanks. So as far as biomarkers are concerned, GAD7, PHQ-9, we're utilizing those. With MAT for opioid use disorder, making sure that folks are adhering to their medication is extremely important, and doing that virtually is even harder than it is in person, as you can imagine. So there's a lot of advances that we've made around how to track that and make sure that there's adherence to that, from making sure we figure out when the recency of the test is, to making sure we know when a photo of the cup is taken and escalating as needed. Where I think we really hit the mark even beyond that is on the personalization piece. And for me, personalization comes from being personal, right? And we're a provider organization. All of our providers are employed. Folks that use our service are with the same provider throughout their entire journey. They help them with their care plan. And we are an inclusive program, as opposed to, traditional addiction medicine is you must tick all these boxes in order to maintain your status in the program. We try and make it, we try and fit it around the patient and their needs, as opposed to saying, if you can't do this, you are out. So, I mean, that is the core to me of personalization. And it's the true intersection of, digital health and continuing that personalized health journey as well.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thanks to all of you. Congrats on being finalists and really important work. Obviously, behavioral mental health is such a huge unmet need, and it needs the innovation that you guys are bringing to the world. And so hope to see you at the finals in Vegas, and keep doing what you're doing. And thanks to everybody across all the sections we had today: remote diagnostics, clinical diagnostics, behavioral health. The finals will be, the grand finale will be November 14th. And HLTH in Vegas, but you're already all winners. So keep doing what you're doing. And everyone who's listening as well, keep innovating across the digital health world. It's really the future of health and medicine for all. So with that, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.